Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kakodash, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kakodash. I'm going to make this super quick, and I'm going to entitle this video, They Shall Become as Women. Now, I'm going to read a couple of precepts that we're all familiar with, or all should be familiar with, and then I'm going to show you a still of this particular video, and I'll leave the video in the description box. Now, what I did was I went to my page and I copied and pasted on my latest video, and then I saw a comment by the elder head of GMS Chicago, which is Malcolm, or Elder Malcolm, and I said, let me leave the link to him because he'll definitely do a video on it, because that's pretty much he goes into that. He was in the military and so forth, but that's he'll definitely do a video of that. And I almost wanted to not do this video, let him do his video first, but I'm gonna do it anyway, and he'll probably build on it. Anyway, let me read these two scriptures. I'm gonna give you another scripture, one in Nahum, the 3rd chapter, because Nahum, the 3rd chapter, it's twofold. Although it's talking about Nineveh, it's talking about the second Nineveh, the spiritual Nineveh, which is Babylon the Great. That's another name for Babylon. Babylon is known as Assyria, Nineveh, Egypt, Sodom, Babylon. Babylon is a key name. So when you go and when you look up the word Babylon in the Old Testament prophetic part, it's mostly talking about the daughter of Babylon, which is not actual Babylon. That's how you know the difference between ancient Babylon and the daughter of Babylon. But sometimes it'll just say Babylon. Other times it'll say daughter of Babylon. So I'm gonna read these two precepts, and I'm gonna read the precept in Nahum. Then I'm gonna show you a still of the video. I'm not gonna play it. Anyway, it's Jeremiah 50 verse 37. A sword is upon their horses, and when you read this whole chapter, both really chapter 49, chapter 50, and chapter 51, we know that it keeps referring to Babylon. And we know that it's not talking about ancient Babylon, it's talking about this current Babylon. A sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots. So what are the modern horses and what are the modern chariots? And upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. What does mingle mean? Let's look it up. Let's see what the Hebrew word is. Let's see what the Hebrew word is for mingled. Mingled. Okay, yeah, I rob. Like the Arabs, the word Arab are a mix of Midianites, Ishmaelites, and other people. In other words, you have Pakistanis, you have Afghanis, the people of Afghanistan. You have all these different people in that region in the east. And what they did, what Esau did, I don't know the exact year, but they mingled them all as Arabs. So they'll call like a Pakistani, they'll call an Iranian Arab. They're not Arabs, they're Elamites. You know, the people of, and they speak a language, I believe the language is, I believe it's Pashtun. It could be the language of the people of Afghanistan, which are also Elamites. Farsi, the people of Iran, which are the Persians, the ancient Persians, they speak a language called Farsi. The people of Afghanistan speak a language called Pashtun, and they all go back to Elam. But what Esau did, he put one name on them, which is Arab, which just means mixed or mingled, right here. Arab, which means the mixed, or Arab, which means mixed. It's also when before the sun comes up, It's still kind of dark, but you can kind of see some light. Well, that's a mixture of the day and night. And that's also Irab, which is like the morning. Another way of saying morning, like morning in compared comparison to afternoon, evening, midday, or whatever. So now, what does it mean by the mingled people? Isn't this place called a great melting pot? In Revelation 17, I believe it's the 15th verse, it says the woman that sitteth on many waters, the waters represent nations, people, tongues, and so forth. So that's another clue that this is not talking about ancient Babylon, because ancient Babylon was not a melting pot. This place is a great melting pot. Scriptures also call it the cauldron, which is a melting pot. So let me come back over here. They saw it as upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, of who? Babylon the Great, or the mother of harlots. And they shall become as woman. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. Now, like I said, you can read the whole chapter. Let's come back. That was Jeremiah 50, verse 37. Jeremiah 51, verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Let's look up the word for forborne. Let's just see what the Hebrew word is. This is also how you learn Hebrew as well. You look at them words. It says what? The men of Babylon, because who fought in the ancient world, who fought in wars? Not women, but men. Forborne. And that's chadal, to stop, cease, desist, forego, cease, to be, leave, undone, forbear, to cease, come to an end, to cease, leave off. They don't want to fight. Meanwhile, you have the Russian military forces fighting against the Ukraine, and they're battle ready. You become institutionalized. There was this one story of this guy that came back and he was badly injured. And this was Desert Storm, if I'm not mistaken. And when he came back, I think he lost an eye. And they said, well, you can't go back no more. And he got mad. He said, no, I want to go back. I want to go back and fight. There was guys that missing limbs that want to go back and fight. Why? Because they've been institutionalized. They love what you got. Jake, that's in prison so many years. They don't want to leave prison, man. They're right at home in prison, in the prison system. So they became institutionalized. So the so-called American fighting man, they don't want to fight. Life is too good. They don't want to fight. That's why they're going to ultimately have to set up a draft. And they spoke about drafting women. Now, this place is done. No matter which way you slice it, this place is done. So let's come back over here. The mighty men of Babylon, the military, the 4 branches, the 5 branches, the 6 branches, whatever, have forborne. They said, no, we don't want to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women, meaning they bitched up. But it's also talking about you're going to have women that they're going to put out there to fight, and they're going to bitch up too, because that's their nature. They have buried her dwelling places. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. That's also in Nineveh. Her bars are broken, which means your defense will be, you will not be defense. You would lose your defense. You would be defenseless, which leads me to Nahum Remember, this book is written in code. I'm sorry, Nay. Let me come back. Nay. Okay, let me try it this way. Nahum 3. Let's see what happens. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Okay, here we go. Nahum. And you can read this whole chapter. It's 19 verses long. And this is also code. This goes hand in hand with the two precepts that I just read. Jeremiah 15, Jeremiah 51, um, Revelation 18, and so many other prophetic scriptures. Daniel 7, Daniel 2. It's all talking about this the same prophecy, but in different ways. So now let me do this. Let me do this. Okay, see what comes up. And like I said, you got to read this whole chapter. Like if you go to, it says Nineveh's complete ruin, and it's actually taught. It's code for Babylon, the great complete ruin. Woe to the bloody city! It is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Who's the prey? We're the prey. We're still here. So ultimately, the Most High is going to deliver us. He's going to beam us up in those ships or in these ship, and then destroy this place with the Most High's army, the Lord of hosts. Hosts meaning the Lord of armies, and one of his armies, as I call a mechanized army, metal army, bow is steel, which the scriptures in Joel 2 describe those missiles as an army, as marching in a certain order. So let me skip down here. Let me start at the 12th verse. Let me start at the 11th verse. Thou also shalt be drunken. Thou shalt be hid. Thou also shalt seek strength because of the enemy. And the enemy is the former USSR, but ultimately they're going to find out that their enemies with an S are their own allies. The NATO allies are going to turn against Babylon the Great. 12th verse, all thy strongholds shall be like fig trees. Your defense, you will have no defense. With the first figs, if they are shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. So you're vulnerable. This is what I want, the 13th verse. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are woman. They're going to bitch up. The gates of thy land, the defense system, shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars, your defense system. Now you have a missile system called the hypersonic missile system, which the former USSR possesses, and it's built in such a way that it can't be detected by radar. So the first part of your defense system is you got to be aware of the missiles coming. The radar can't pick it up because the cone or the nose of that missile it moves so fast that it forms a what's the word a plasma cloud around the warhead, the front of the missile, the nose of the missile, and radar can't pick it up. That's why it said in 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, as a thief in the night. Behold, the elements shall melt with a fervent heat. Being that we know all this, what manner of person ought we to be in all holy conversation? So we supposed to be constantly kicking this word, man. And we are. You are. So now I went into pretty much three basic scriptures, prophetic scripture dealing with the word woman. So now let me do this. Okay, I'm right here. Where the hell is it? Okay, this is it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the link in the description box. And now that we went through those scriptures, I want you to, and I froze it on this picture right here. This guy is an Ephraimite, David Sanchezy, David Sanchez. He probably military guy, Americanized, you know, Ephraimite, divided states. What scripture comes to mind? Divided states. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. And this place is divided, equally, perfectly divided. So it says America's woke military versus Russia's alpha male military doesn't inspire American confidence, by David Sanchez, American Power. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close and I'm going to leave the link in the description box. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.